True books will venture, dare you out, whisper secrets, maybe shout.
Hey, I'm Lindsay Lawson.
And I'm Elma Daniel.
And we are two future teachers. We are blogging about this book because we think it will be an excellent tool to use in the classroom for future teachers and current teachers as well. We have chosen the book Good Books, Good Times, and all the poems in this book were selected by Lee Bennett Hopkins.
This book is considered a book of poetry because there are poems in this book written by 14 different authors, and each one is about the joys of reading. It has lots of elements of poetry in it. It's non-prose, there are line breaks, repetition, rhyme, and assonance, among many other elements of poetry in the book. And that is why it is considered a poetry book. As far as all the poems in there, like I said, they're all about the joys of reading. And each one of the authors has their own unique way of convincing the reader of this book to read other books, and how reading a book can transform you into a character or take you to another place just by reading the book. And that books can be exciting and fun and adventurous. So it's a really good book that teaches the reader about reading.
Not only does it influence and help kids want to read, the illustrations also make children want to read as well. Whether the character or the person in the book, in the picture, is imagining themselves as a character in the book, or if they're imagining themselves going to a place that they're drifting off to, the illustrations are really good in this book.
I like illustrations too because it shows different ways of how people enjoy reading, whether relaxing or hanging out with a friend or where they like to read.
The first example of elements of poetry are in the poem called Books Fall Open. In this poem, there's alliteration, personification, and rhyme. In this sentence, some wise delver into wisdom, wit, and wherewithal has written it. This is all an example of alliteration because the words wise, wisdom, wit, and wherewithal and written all start with the letter W. There's also personification and rhyme in the sentence, true books will venture, dare you out, whisper secrets, maybe shout, as we heard earlier from Elma, because the words out and shout rhyme, and also the sentence, true books whisper secrets, is an example of personification. Another example of elements of poetry is in the poem Summer Doings. In the stanza, some at beaches are sandcastling, some are silly, fighting, wrestling, there is a rhyme scheme of A, B, C, B, since sandcastling and wrestling rhyme. There's also onomatopoeia because the word wrestling sounds as if it is written.
Another example of elements of poetry are repetition, rhyme, and alliteration. In this particular poem, Good Books, Good Times, which is also the title of this book, each one of the sentences in the poem begins with the word good, so it is repetition. There are several different words that rhyme in there, and there's also an example of alliteration. I will read you this poem. Good books, good times, good stories, good rhymes, good beginnings, good ends, good people, good friends, good fiction, good facts, good adventures, good acts. The examples of rhyme is times and rhymes, and ends and friends, and facts and acts. An alliteration example is the words friends, fiction, and facts because they all begin with the letter F. And our last example is from the poem I'd Like a Story. In the very first stanza, I will read, it says, I'd like a story of ghost on gusty nights, wild island ponies galloping with manes that wave like kites. Ghost, gusty, and galloping all begin with the letter G, so that is an example of alliteration. In the last sentence, with manes that wave like kites, using the word wave like kites, or the words, is an example of a simile. And the two words manes and waves are an example of assonance because they have the same vowel sound but different consonant sounds. I really enjoyed this book. Not only did I enjoy all the elements of poetry in there and recognizing those, I also enjoyed reading all the exciting ways that other people enjoy reading and how they like to read. Did you like this book?
I sure did. I really enjoyed it, and I think that it would be a great tool to use in my classroom, and I think that it would help kids get excited about reading.
I do too. I think I will use this in my classroom when I become a teacher, because not only does it have lots of elements of poetry in it where I could teach them about it if that was the standard that I was teaching, the specific examples that we've given you, we could teach them those. It's also a great way to get students excited about reading, and they can see other students and other pictures from the illustrations as how they enjoy reading. The authors give great examples of that. They all have their different opinion. I love the way each one of them have their own unique style in the book. And I just feel like it would be a great tool also to use in the classroom. So you're definitely going to use it?
I'm definitely going to use it.
Me too. So how would you use this in your classroom?